What if I told you that every single fortune, every great achievement, all of it starts with just one simple thought? Well, today we're exploring a book that has guided millions of people with that exact idea. We are diving deep into the core philosophy of Napoleon Hill's legendary book, Think and Grow Rich. And listen, this wasn't some weekend project for him. This was his life's work, 25 years spent analyzing over 500 of the wealthiest, most successful people of his time, from Andrew Carnegie all the way to Henry Ford. And right at the heart of it all is this one revolutionary idea, stated right from the get-go, that every single achievement, all earned riches, they all begin as a simple, intangible thought. I know, it sounds almost magical, right? Can a thought really make you rich? But Napoleon Hill wasn't just talking about wishful thinking. He spent a quarter of a century developing a philosophy built on what he argued were tangible psychological principles that could turn those intangible thoughts into actual physical wealth. So let's see how he says it's done. Okay, so first up, how does a thought actually become a thing? Hill's entire philosophy is built on this core idea of transmutation, which is really just a fancy word for the process of transforming a mental impulse into its real-world physical equivalent. And you have to understand, Hill insists this is not a metaphor. He tells the story of Edwin C. Barnes, who he says literally thought his way into a partnership with the great Thomas Edison. I mean, this guy showed up broke, a nobody, with nothing to his name except one crystal clear, unshakable thought. He was going to work with Edison, not just for him. And that single powerful idea was the seed for his entire fortune. So, if a thought is the starting point, what's the engine that actually drives this whole transformation? Well, Hill gives it a name, a burning desire. Now, this is a really important distinction he makes. See, a simple wish, that's passive. It's vague, it's like, I hope I win the lottery. But a burning desire, that's something else entirely. It's an active, all-consuming obsession. It's a definite, super specific goal that becomes the main focus of all your thoughts and actions. So how do you actually cultivate that burning desire? Hill lays out this surprisingly practical 6-step formula, which he claims he got directly from the industrialist Andrew Carnegie. It's this methodical process. You have to pick an exact amount of money, decide what you'll give in return, set a firm date, create a solid plan, write it all down, and then, and this is the key part, read it aloud every single day, programming your mind to see and feel it as if it's already happened. But what's really going on here? I mean, what's the actual mechanism behind all this? How does reading a sentence out loud turn into actual wealth? Well, for Hill, the answer lies in the huge, untapped power of our subconscious mind. The theory, basically, is that our minds act like powerful magnets. The thoughts we hold consistently are dominating thoughts. They radiate a certain frequency, attracting the people, the opportunities, and the circumstances that vibrate on that same frequency. And this leads to one of two things. If you're constantly feeding your mind thoughts of success and abundance, you develop what he calls a success consciousness that just naturally attracts good things. But if you let fear and doubt take over, you create a failure consciousness that does the exact opposite. It actually repels opportunity. The tool that we use to voluntarily feed these positive instructions to our internal magnet is what Hill calls auto-suggestion. You can think of it as the bridge between what you consciously want and what your subconscious mind then gets to work creating. And this is exactly why that 6th step, reading your statement aloud every day, is so important. It's all about repetition. Because if you repeat something to yourself enough times, your subconscious mind eventually accepts it as fact, whether it was true to begin with or not. You're literally programming your own belief system. Okay, but there is a major catch here. The subconscious mind only responds to thoughts that are emotionalized. You can't just robotically read words off a page. You have to feel it. You have to inject emotions like faith and belief into those thoughts. And you have to be careful because the subconscious doesn't judge. It will act on a thought driven by intense fear just as powerfully as it acts on one driven by intense faith. Of course, just having a burning desire isn't enough. We all know the path to success is never a straight line. Which brings us to a really crucial part of Hill's philosophy: how you deal with defeat. This is a theme he comes back to again and again. He says that one of the most common reasons for failure is that people just quit at the first sign of trouble. But what he found was that for the ultra-successful, their biggest breakthroughs often came right after their most painful setbacks.
This demands a mindset of just absolute persistence. It's about fundamentally changing how you see failure. It's not the end of the road, it's just a temporary detour.
And here's the key insight. Defeat isn't a stop sign, it's a feedback signal. Hill argues that it's simply telling you that your plan has a flaw in it, not that your purpose is wrong. So the only logical thing to do is to build a better plan and go again.
This right here is the ultimate reframe that Hill offers. He argues that inside every single failure, no matter how much it hurts, there is a seed. The seed of an equivalent or maybe even greater success. The only question is whether you have the persistence to find it and make it grow.
So finally, after all this talk about accumulating money and fortunes, it might surprise you that Hill is very clear that the ultimate goal is something much, much broader.
And this is really where the whole philosophy opens up. While the book uses money as its main teaching tool because it's tangible and easy to measure, it makes a huge point that the greatest riches in life are often the ones you can't count. We're talking about things like deep, lasting friendships, harmonious family relationships, and true peace of mind. Hill calls these the higher estates. These are forms of wealth that money just can't buy, but that are available to anyone who learns to master their own mind.
So, in the end, the principles for attracting financial wealth are the exact same principles for attracting a richer life in general. The book presents it as a universal toolkit for achievement in pretty much any area you can think of. Ultimately, this whole philosophy places all the power and all of the responsibility right in your hands. It argues that you are the master of your fate, the captain of your soul. So the only question it leaves you with is, what thought will you choose to make real?